Hello and welcome to the 25-26 school year. What's new, what's not for elementary academics? Today we will be going through professional development, curriculum supports and playbook, scheduling tenets, grading plans and resources, family resources, teacher cadre, as well as specifics for each content area. Please review the K-12 Master Teacher Directory. If you need any contact information updated or need to provide a new master teacher contact, please complete this form by July 25th. This will ensure that specialists are able to provide timely announcements for meeting dates and information directly to your master teacher designee. If the master teacher positions were traded for MCL positions, it's still expected that you have a literacy point of contact and a math point of contact who will attend the district content-specific monthly meetings. If the positions have not yet been filled, please note that on the form. These positions play a crucial role in analyzing student data to refine teacher practices. Therefore, those position titles are expected to actively engage in the district-wide academic initiatives and professional learning. This year, we will provision weekly tidbits, and they will be updated in order to provide specific just-in-time supports for each content area. We will continue to provide the existing PLC deep dive videos, lesson videos, and family materials. We'll go a little bit more in depth with each specific content area to see changes to any curriculum expectations for the tenets and scheduling for the 25-26 school year. The Pre-K through 12 Playbook is a centralized hub designed to support educators and leaders across all grade levels. It houses essential information and resources including professional learning, communications, school scheduling tenets, and CMS curriculum commitments and Pre-K through 12 curricular resources. All content and links for the 25-26 school year will be fully updated and accessible by August 1st, 2025. This playbook is meant to be a living go-to document for consistent support throughout the year. Please take time to bookmark this resource now.
Now let's go into our grading plan. The grading plan continues to be available for the 25-26 school year to ensure success in each student's K-12 experience. We must provide ample academic opportunities for students to prepare, rehearse, and then perform. For resources for this work, as in the past, K-12 grading resources are also easily located in the K-12 grading resource document that is also linked in that playbook I had you bookmark a few moments ago. This link will be the same as in the past, with updates for the 25-26 school year. Here you'll find a plethora of resources, including assignment category spreadsheet, which lists the curricular assignments available in each category, as well as the assessment naming codes for our curricular assessments that are available in Mastery Connect. There's also a grading guidance FAQ available to refer to in the 25-26 school year that gives nuanced guidance for subject areas. An exciting new resource is the Family Resources. You can see at the bottom a bit.ly that takes you directly to these resources. You can expect iReady practice resources, Khan Academy practice resources, and resources aligned to support the MVPH student results. One task that we'd like you to do is take a moment and think about who in your school would be an excellent member of the teacher leader cadre. On this screen, you can see the purpose of the cadre and the schedule and tasks. We're looking for teachers who have a positive growth mindset, implement district curriculum, and coach and support others, and seek opportunities to grow and solution-oriented. If you would please nominate by August 1st using the bit.ly on the screen 4 K2 teachers, 1 different teacher per content area, and 4 3-5 teachers, 1 different teacher per content area.
Hello everyone, my name is Hannah Woods. These are your 6 elementary math curriculum specialists, and I will be bringing you the what's new, what's not for the school year 2025-2026 for for elementary mathematics. To access the elementary math curriculum, follow the ClassLink pathway that you see on the screen. This year, we will be continuing to use our CMS math curriculum. The math team has provided a scope and sequence, or a year at a glance, for each grade level K through 5. The year at a glance includes instructional days, assessment windows, and flex days. In 3rd through 5th grade, the year at a glance calendars also include reassessment days to the extent possible, as well as end-of-year review lesson days. Remember to stay within 2 weeks or 10 instructional days of the scope and sequence to ensure that all students have access to the grade level content and standards. Any standards listed prior to the MVPA testing window have the potential to be assessed within that MVPA. Flex days have been provided on the year at a glance and can be used as additional support based on your student data, and can be used for playing centers, small group instruction, assessment, or reassessment. They can also be used for responding to MVPA data, state and district mandated testing data. Math Rocks includes easy to find North Carolina standard course of study aligned materials to use on those flex days. What we do not recommend is creating testing packets or instituting intensive test preparation or student practice that is unaligned to the North Carolina standard course of study. For a more specific example, let's look at 5th grade. Units 1 through 3 are listed to be taught prior to the opening of the MVPA window, which is November 17th. That means that any standard covered in those first 3 units could be assessed within the first MVPA. In CMS, the instructional tenets read that for the 25-26 school year, we will be using the CMS Elementary Math Curriculum, or IMCMS. This core curriculum is a 60-minute-a-day lesson for K through 5 and 30 minutes additional time used for centers, small groups instruction, supplemental, and intensive interventions. Although this is the same for 2nd through 5th, this is new this year for K and 1 to be having an additional 30 minutes for center, small group instruction, supplemental, and intensive intervention. There are 2 lesson structures, one for kindergarten and 1st and the other for 2nd through 5th. As you can see, kinder and 1st grade include centers during lesson activities, which is within the core 60-minute math lesson, while 2nd through 5th grade have a core 60-minute math lesson and the 30 minutes for centers and small groups. Supplemental and intensive interventions will take place during the additional 30 minutes of the math time as well. Although not new, we want to remind you that K through 5 math is based on a problem-based instructional model. That means teachers will be facilitating and supporting students through actively engaging in the mathematics and experiencing the mathematics, as opposed to a more direct instruction approach with the teacher at the front of the room guiding students through multiple tasks. To support our leadership team in this work, we are providing core action walkthrough checklists in the form of look-fors to support the CMS core actions, an environmental checklist to support each classroom and ensure all students have access to the grade level curriculum, and the curriculum essentials as a guide to give big picture understanding of what is happening in day-to-day lessons in an easy-to-use manual. Supporting families is also important to CMS, and that is why we offer family letters, which are also available in Spanish. These are letters for each unit to keep parents informed of the learning their students are doing, as well as how to help at home. Each unit also has family videos that parents can access and watch to view what students will be learning about throughout the unit. And we have a CMS Elementary Learning Resources website. This website is broken down by grade level and gives great at-home advice and tips for students based on the subject areas. This year, CMS is provisioning the IMCMS workbooks. These workbooks for every unit, kindergarten through 5th grade, are aligned to the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. In addition, we are providing 3rd through 5th practice problems that are within each unit workbook online as a tech-enhanced item in the student-facing Canvas course. Although these digital courses are not new and these daily lessons are not new, we wanted to call attention to the practice problems being printed in the workbook, as well as the opportunity for 3rd through 5th graders to access them electronically. The new IMCMS elementary math workbooks include the standard aligned lessons, practice problems, and additional resources for each unit. Each lesson includes the student activities followed by a set of CMS created practice problems, and after the lessons and practice problems is the cool down, which includes an exit ticket for formative assessment after daily instruction. The table of contents states the page number the cooldowns begin on within the workbook, and the last section of the workbook includes any additional resources that students would need in order to engage in the lesson activities within the unit. This could be card sorts or pictures, graphs, or number cards.
Hello, we are the 6th Elementary Literacy Curriculum Specialists. We are excited to share what's new and what's not for the 25-26 school year. Our main resource hub is called All Things Literacy, and it's a Canvas course. To access the resources for elementary ELA, follow the class link pathway you see on the screen. Let's talk about the literacy scope and sequence. So ELA has been intentional in the pacing and planning of all of these components and has provided a scope and sequence. The pacing considered holidays and testing windows, provided our recommended instructional dates for each component, and flex days are incorporated throughout the year in each component. It is recommended to remain within 2 weeks or 10 instructional days of the scope and sequence to ensure all students have access to the grade level content and standards. The K2 skills block pacing has been enhanced to provide whole group pacing that ensures students practice key letter sounds and skills prior to middle and end of year benchmark assessments. The enhancement was made by shifting most skills block flex days to quarter 4. Rather than having 9 to 12 days in each quarter. In this example, you'll notice a comparison between the 2025 enhanced pacing and last year's traditional pacing. This year at MOY testing, students will be working on cycles 11, 12, 2 cycles ahead of where they were previously. At the end of 3rd quarter, students will have finished cycles 22, 4 cycles ahead of 2024. At the end of your testing, students will have had instruction and practice in all grade level cycles. They will also have time for cumulative review and increased small group time. Another key benefit for kindergarten is that students will have been introduced to all consonant and short vowel sounds by middle of year testing and started blending practice. Let's talk about flex days. What are the intentions behind that? They were intended to be used as additional support using the district provision resources to address student data and can be for teaching unfinished module lessons or unit assessments. They're also designed to respond to data, i.e. DIBELS and VPA, considering all the components of literacy that students need to become skilled readers. Flex days are also helpful when we have state and district mandating testing windows, and it's also a great time to reinforce our cursive. Take a moment to read over this screen, looking at the balance of literacy components, direction for small group instruction, and the additional resources for Flex Day guidance. In CMS, the instructional tenets read that English Language Arts curriculum is core curriculum. Schedules must include 60 minutes a day for module in grades K5, 60 minutes of foundational skills or skills block for grades K2, and 60 minutes each day allotted for additional language and literacy block, or all block, in grades 3-5. It's really important that all block needs to come after the module, as this block is designed based on the data collected from the modules and needs to be treated as a joint counterpart, not isolated components. In grades K2 and 3-5, the module lessons explicitly teach and formally assess reading comprehension, writing, speaking and listening, and language standards. There are 4 modules per grade level. Teachers should teach the modules in order, beginning with Module 1, which lays the foundation for both teachers and students regarding classroom culture and instructional routines. The curriculum was built using the principles of backwards design. It identifies what students need to know and be able to do at the end of each module. Units are intentionally designed to help students meet these targets. The last unit of each module, Unit 3, includes the performance task. Here you can see what they generally encompass. Each unit also has unit assessments and many monitoring assessments throughout the units. A general lesson will include an opening, work times, and a closing. Work times and time frames may vary within the 60 minutes of instruction, depending on the lesson demand. Grades K2 include an hour of content-based literacy instruction and an hour of foundational skills. K2 reading foundational skills is 60 minutes daily. This component teaches and assesses all reading foundations and language standards associated with spelling and letter formation in grades K2. The daily lesson begins with 15 minutes of whole group instruction. This generally includes an opening for 3 to 5 minutes where students engage in a brief or familiar instructional practice that provides connections to prior learning and or warms students up for the work time instructional practice. During the 10 to 15 minutes of work time, students engage in a familiar instructional practice routine which they practice newly introduced phonemes, graphemes, spelling patterns, or skills. They end the whole group lesson with 2 to 3 minutes of reflection and goal setting. Students make and or reflect on personal goals connected to their growth as readers and the current character focus of the module, for example, collaboration. The remaining 40 to 45 minutes, students are either being included in a differentiated small group instruction based on their microphase. When students are not with the small group, they are working independently on their differentiated microphase to master the skills and work within the microphase. Teachers meet with 2 or 3 differentiated small groups at this time based on their microphase. The additional language and literacy block, also called ALL block, is 1 hour of instruction per day. It is designed to work in concert with and in addition to the 1 hour grades 3 through 5 ELA module lessons. Taken together, these 2 hours of instruction comprehensively address all of the North Carolina Standard Course of Study standards for English language arts. Each day in ALL block, students rotate through 3 components: accountable independent reading to guide their work, and a teacher-guided activity. When not with the teachers, students can choose where to go independently. There are 5 components in ALL block: reading and speaking fluency and grammar usage mechanics, also known as GUM, additional word with complex text, word study and vocabulary, writing practice, and independent reading. Each unit of the modules have 8 lessons in ALL block, or approximately 2 weeks of instruction in these 3 components. Here on the screen, you'll see how that looks when comparing it to the module lessons. A general ALL block small group lesson will include an opening, guided practice and feedback, and goal setting for when students are to be independent. Work times and time frames may vary within the 20 minutes of instruction, depending on the lesson demand. We're not just focusing on one set of data and one skill. We need all of these work together to make skilled readers. Another new piece for 25-26 is that this year for literacy is the launch of our ELA Google Drive. This drive will house all of the EL education curricular materials and a few CMS created resources. The ELA Google Drive will serve as a primary access point for digital materials when our contract with Imagine Learning Classroom expires at the end of this school year. While we still have access to ILC for 25-26, building leaders and teachers are strongly encouraged to use the ELA Google Drive in preparation for the full transition in the years 26-27. All of this starts from the Year at a Glance documents. When clicking on the lesson titles in the calendar, you will go directly to the lesson folder. In the K5 lesson folders contain slides, the lesson narrative, and supporting materials. When opening the slides, teachers will notice they've received a student-friendly facelift. Accessing the lesson folder works the same for Skills Block. The K2 Skills Block lesson folders contain the lesson narrative, supporting materials, and new CMS-created slides. I'll explain more about the features of the new Skills Block slides later in this presentation. The 3-5 module lesson folders look the same as K2, but ALL block looks a little different. When you click on the ALL block lesson title, it will bring you directly to the folder that houses all of the lessons for that unit. The ALL block units are organized with clear naming conventions and color-coded icons. On the left side of the YAG, or Year at a Glance, you'll notice resources like assessment in their unit folders. K2, you'll also access resources like the benchmark assessments and the cycled decodable readers. And 3-5 and module resources can be accessed just like K2. In the All Block section, you'll find a link directly to the All Block expansion pack. Utilizing the Year at a Glance as a landing page for LitLink, you will have easy access to all the EL education curricular materials. If you can't find a link to something on the Ag, LitLink is a searchable drive. If you add a plus before your search, it will help you narrow down your search for a specific grade or module you're looking for. In this example, I typed plus G2 M1 overview. So change the location to search just within LitLink. You can see here that the Grade 2 Module 1 Module Overview is the first resource located in the search. Just a reminder, LitLink accessed by the ELA Year at a Glance launches June 10th. LitLink contains all of the EL education curriculum materials and a few key CMS resources. All CMS created materials are still available on All Things Literacy. That has not changed. It will be helpful to encourage your staff to transition to LitLink this year because our access to ILC will expire after the school year. A friendly reminder, each component also includes supports for students and teachers. For modules, for Skills Block, one of the Skills Block 2017 enhancement are the new CMS created whole group lesson slides. These lesson slides follow the EL education lesson narrative and can be used in place of ILC slides. While the slides follow the EL education structure, a few additional enhancements have been added. The K2 blending decoding routine, the first and second grade alignment to the CMS created syllable sleuth routine, in the kindergarten, the addition of audio to pronounce phonemes. On the screen, you'll see the K2 decoding practice infused in new CMS created slides. First and second grade will have the CMS syllable sleuth built into as well. That syllable sleuth routine was used existing resources in a slides format. It has decoding and encoding of multiple syllabic words. It's included in first grade slides, Module 3 and 4, when syllable sleuth begins. It's included in second grade Module 1 through 4 as syllable types and patterns are introduced. It provides an I do and we do examples, provides solutions, and displays student practice pages as well with those solutions. In kindergarten, the audio of letter sounds are embedded in the slides and provide students and teachers with accurate pronunciation of all consonant, short vowels, and digraphs. For all blocks, students are revision with the same wide range of reading to increase reading stamina and fluency, student notebooks, however these are new and got a facelift, as well as digital task cards. All of these provisioned resources can be found in the new LitLink. To support strong instruction, teachers are provided with teacher guides and supporting materials. In the new workbooks, some things that you'll see are written on the screen. What's also new is the All Block Expansion Teacher Guide. It's the same core lessons, exciting new features to aid in teacher clarity. There's pictures for ease of planning, timestamps, highlighted academic vocabulary, clearly highlighted lesson questioning, visual sample models of lesson works, sample anchor charts, the differentiated teacher task cards, and supports for all learners aligned to the pacing of the lesson. What's not new? It's the same lessons we've been doing. As a leader, here are some curricular resources to help support you. We have the core action checklist and look-fors, the environmental checklist, curriculum essentials, and for families, we provide the family letters, homework, and our CMS website houses new standards-aligned work for at-home resources.
Hello, I am Ashley Meesmer, your elementary science curriculum specialist. To access the Canvas Science Hub, follow the ClassLink pathway you see on the screen. This is where all units will be housed for K-5 science. Information such as the scope and sequence and additional resources will also be housed here. The scope and sequence provides suggested pacing for alternating science and social studies or teaching science every day. You will notice at the top the YAG, or Year at a Glance. This is a year at a glance, which is another way for teachers to see pacing and what will be taught. On the Year at a Glance, you can see suggested pacing for alternating science and social studies or teaching science every day. These examples are for 5th grade. All other grades will only show the alternating science and social studies calendar. This is just another way for teachers to see pacing and what will be taught throughout the year. The scope and sequence and the YAG will be linked on the Canvas Hub as well. Here you can see the K-5 instructional hours and lesson structure for science and social studies. For grades K through 2, students must receive a minimum of 30 minutes of science and social studies instruction per day. For grades 3 through 5, the instructional minutes are increased to 45 minutes. Fifth grade has the option to implement a schedule where science is taught daily or a schedule where they alternate science and social studies lessons, with both subjects being taught each quarter. Be mindful if science is taught daily, the social studies must be put in the master schedule in another part of the instructional day. In the 2025-2026 CMS Elementary will be implementing the new 2023 K-12 science standards in all grades K through 5. The lesson structure for K-4 has changed for the 25-26 school year and will mirror 5th grade in order to provide consistency among the grade levels. Each lesson will be an explore, an explain, or an evaluate lesson, and each unit will be approximately 14 days long. 5th grade will continue to utilize the newly written CMS units they began last year, with the units varying in length from 14 days to 25 days of core lessons. Extension lessons will be used after core lessons for those schools who do not do science every day. Once on the hub, click the grade level you will need to access in order to get all units and resources. Please note that the Canvas Hub will be under construction this summer as we reorganize and update the K-4 units. It will be completed and available August 1st. On the Canvas Hub, teachers can access the new lessons for all grades. The units for K-4 will entail new curriculum lessons enabling students to do the heavy lift of learning and for teachers to facilitate. These units will also include the science and engineering practices and protocols that are in the current 5th grade units, such as engaging in the anchoring phenomena, I wonder boards and driving question boards, concept maps, and class consensus models. Units 1 through 3 will be available on the CMS Science Rocks Canvas Hub in August. The remaining units will be available by December 2025. What's not new with the lessons? 5th grade will continue to implement the existing science curriculum units that were written and provided in the 24-25 school year. Please note that we are working on getting the new K-4 units translated. Resources for K-5 science for the 25-26 year include consumable kits if ordered by the school, student text, student sheets, curriculum units with teacher lessons, daily slide decks, performance tasks, and end-of-unit assessments on Mastery Connect. All units K-5 will now include lesson navigation, which is an overview of the lesson question, what they do, what they learn, and where they will go next. PLC planning document based on the new NCDPI K-12 science standards, science classroom look-fors, what's still available for families, K-5 access to the elementary science learning resources, and 5th grade family letters.
Hi, I'm Latonda Mitchell, your elementary social studies specialist. To access the resources for elementary social studies, follow the ClassLink pathway you see on your screen. You'll start with the Launchpad. You'll then click on the CMS Instructional Resources tab. You'll go inside of that folder and you'll find the CMS ES, that's for elementary school social studies resources. From there, it'll take you to our hub so that you can become a member. So what's new? 5th grade will move back to an alternating schedule based on the year at a glance document. You can also find a more detailed version of this by looking at the K-5 scope and sequence. For science and social studies, you will see when it is taught, the specific units and lessons according to pacing, and where science and social studies will alternate. Please be mindful if you choose to teach science every day in 5th grade, social studies must be put in your master schedule in another part of the instructional day. K-4 will continue to alternate science and social studies throughout the year based on pacing. All current expectations for instructional hours and lesson structures will remain in place from the previous year. K-2 students should receive 30 minutes daily of science and social studies following an alternating schedule. Grades 3-5 should receive 45 minutes daily of science or social studies, also on an alternating schedule, unless your school chooses to teach science every day in 5th grade. If your school opts to teach science every day in 5th grade, please ensure that social studies is still included in your master schedule during another part of the instructional day. In terms of curriculum structure, grades K4 each includes 6 social studies units, and grade 5 includes 8 units. Lessons across K5 are modeled after the 5E instructional framework, but we focus on 3 key phases: engage, explore, and evaluate. Please continue to follow these expectations to ensure consistency and quality in social studies instruction across classrooms. Once you have joined the Hub, you have access to resources for all grade levels. Throughout the summer, we will be updating units and adding new curriculum materials to ensure alignment, relevance, and student-centered engagement. On the home page, you will find everything you need for planning and instruction: grade level materials, grading and assessment resources, standards, and so much more to support your teachers. Please be sure to use the most current versions of units and slide decks. Updates are made each summer to ensure that materials reflect accurate content, current best practices, and inclusive, developmentally appropriate activities. Using outdated versions can cause significant harm, including the disruption of learning, erosion of classroom trust, and emotional harm to students. For example, in one instance, a teacher used an outdated version of a unit that included a video that had since been revised. The older video was inappropriate for the classroom and compromised a student's well-being and the safety of the learning environment. To maintain the integrity of your brave spaces in your schools and support all learners effectively, always verify that teachers are using the most up-to-date materials before teaching each unit. Thank you for your commitment for fostering safe, inclusive, and engaging social studies instruction. While social studies is often overlooked, it plays a vital role in literacy development by building background knowledge, growing academic vocabulary, and giving students meaningful reasons to read, write, speak, and listen. When students engage in rich historical content, analyze diverse perspectives, and discuss real world issues, they develop the comprehension and critical thinking skills that are essential for ELA success. So, in short, social studies is not extra, right? It's foundational to growing strong readers and writers. One of our teacher leaders in the district is amazing and speaks so highly of social studies. She says, "I think because I was modeling the social studies curriculum, I taught it with fidelity that I may not have been giving it in the years past. I saw the intentional PACE strategies, best practices in ELA, and the connection to our L curriculum. I was able to incorporate some of our heaviest informational reading strategies and standards, like main ideas, summarizing, and vocabulary, with the social studies lessons in digital student notebooks." This comes from a very amazing teacher from Huntersville Elementary, Rachel Day. And I just want to point out some dangers of not teaching social studies. And you can see it from the infographic, but I'll just highlight a couple of those. So, when we don't teach social studies, we deny students the right to be successful in college, in careers, and in their civic lives. This also decreases the chances of our young people going out and voting, and we know how important it is to vote. We deny our struggling readers access to content-rich curriculum that could help improve their reading because it captures that interest, right? And we just would continue the trend of 23% of our students being unsuccessful in civics, right? So, what can we do to change that? We can stay firm in our instructional tenant time set aside for both social studies and science. We use those assessments that are there to help gauge if our students are mastering these standards. We support social studies professional learning. We don't teach what we don't know and what we fear. So, getting practice with that is really important. And then using the high quality instructional resources provided by the district. So, what comes for our students? We have our student texts that are there in the student notebooks. For our teachers, we have curriculum units, daily slide decks, and assessments. For leadership and for leadership and for families, for leadership, we have the classroom look fors. If you're going in and doing an observation, you can use that during that time. And for our families, we have our family letters that can be given from the classroom for each unit, for each grade level. And then we have our more units that will continue to be taught during our economics time in first, second, and third grade. That's for social studies. For science, you'll only do one unit. That's in quarter 3, which is structures and functions of living organisms. More information will be coming about training in a little bit.